Close your eyes, relax, and enjoy the story. An extraordinary magical tale. The Enchanted Wings and the Lost Simurgh. Long ago, beyond the misty peaks of the mystic mountains, lay the wondrous realm of Eldoria. It was a land where rivers sparkled with starry dust, flowers sang gentle lullabies at sunset, and the air itself hummed with ancient magic. The kingdom was protected by the brave and curious Prince Neil, a young royal renowned across distant lands for his unmatched swordsmanship, compassionate heart, and endless thirst for adventure. The greatest treasure and protector of Eldoria was the Simurgh, a majestic, mythical magic bird with shimmering blue and golden feathers. The bird perched atop the high spire of the royal palace. With every gentle breath of the Simurgh, fresh breezes blew, magical blossoms bloomed, and health and prosperity showered upon the people. However, peace was fragile. One dark night, as a cold wind swept through the valley, ominous pitch-black clouds blanketed the night sky, swallowing the moon whole. A terrifying shriek echoed through the heavens, followed by a sudden heavy silence. By morning the high spire was empty. The Simurgh had vanished without a trace. Within hours the kingdom began to fade. Eldoria's crystal fountains dried into dust, the vibrant leaves turned pale gray, and the magic in the air withered away into cold, stale mist. Seeing his kingdom fall into despair, Prince Neil stepped before the king and queen in the great hall and vowed, "I will not sit idly while our home perishes. I give you my oath. I will find the Simurgh and bring the light back to Eldoria." Armed with his star-metal sword, a flask of enchanted spring water, and an ancient yellowed map, Prince Neil ventured into the uncharted lands beyond the kingdom's borders. His destination was the perilous labyrinth of whispers, a dense, enchanted forest where no ordinary mortal dared to tread. As soon as Neil crossed the tree line, the forest seemed to come alive. The paths beneath his boots shifted and warped. Ancient, towering trees bent lower, whispering trickster riddles to confuse his mind, while swarms of glittering, multicolored fireflies danced in the air, trying to lure him off the path toward dangerous bogs. Keeping his eyes clear and his courage steadfast, Neil ignored the deceptive illusions. He knelt by a mossy rock and listened closely, catching the faint, rhythmic sound of a distant, glowing waterfall. Following his instincts, he carved his way deeper into the woods until he arrived at a shimmering clearing surrounded by ancient stone arches. Hovering in the center of the clearing was Elora, a tiny guardian fairy with wings like spun glass. She warned him gently, "Prince Neil, the Simurgh was not taken by a dark wizard of this world, but captured by Zark, the shadow demon of the underworld caves. He seeks to drain the bird's divine energy to make himself invincible. To save it, you must enter the abyss, where steel alone cannot win." Elora plucked a glowing silver leaf from her hair and handed it to Neil, adding, "When darkness blinds you, let your heart guide this light." With Elora's directions, Prince Neil reached the jagged, scorching entrance of the underworld caves, a tear in the earth that bled dark smoke and fiery embers. The air grew thick and heavy with sulfur, but Neil pressed forward, descending steep stone steps carved into the subterranean cliffside. Deep within the cavernous depths, darkness was absolute. Shadows flickered along the walls, taking shape as monstrous phantoms summoned by Zark. The shadowy beasts lunged at Neil, their claws slashing through the gloom. Neil drew his star metal sword, and as the blade ignited with radiant light, he spun and struck, cutting through the dark creatures and dissolving them into wisps of harmless smoke. He pushed through tunnels of liquid fire and icy caverns until he reached the heart of the underworld, a vast, subterranean chamber suspended over a chasm of endless void. In the center of the chamber, bound by heavy, dark iron chains inside a massive cage, was the Simurgh. Its brilliant feathers were dim, and tears of liquid light fell from its eyes onto the cold stone floor. Standing atop the cage was Zark, a towering entity of swirling black smoke, glowing crimson eyes, and obsidian armor. "You are too late, little prince," Zark bellowed, his voice shaking the cavern walls. "The bird's magic is almost mine, and soon your world will belong to the shadows." Zark raised his hands, hurling bolts of dark magic toward Neil. Neil dodged swiftly, leaping across falling stone pillars. He countered with strikes from his sword, but every time his blade hit Zark, the demon simply turned into harmless smoke and reformed behind him. Zark then unleashed a massive blast of pure dark energy, sending Neil crashing against the stone wall. His sword clattered to the ground a few paces away. Pain surged through Neil's body as Zark stepped closer, his crimson eyes gleaming with cruel triumph. Shadows swirled around Neil, pinning his arms to the ground and threatening to swallow his mind in despair. Neil looked past the demon, catching the weary, hopeful gaze of the Simurgh. He remembered Alora's words, "Where steel alone cannot win. Let your heart guide the light." Neil squeezed his eyes shut. He stopped fighting the physical shadows and turned his Dehian inward. He pictured the smiling faces of his people, the blooming gardens of Eldoria, and the sacred oath he had sworn to protect his home. The silver fairy leaf in his pocket began to glow white-hot, responding to his pure conviction. With a roar of pure determination, Neil broke through the shadow restraints. He reached out and grabbed his sword. The blade didn't just glow. It erupted into a brilliant, sun-like golden flame born of pure courage and love. Zark shrieked as the light scorched his shadowy form. Neil leaped into the air, dodging Zark's panicked dark blasts, and landed directly atop the Simurgh's cage. He raised his fiery blade high and struck the master lock with all his strength. Clang! A blinding explosion of golden light shattered the dark iron chains into fine dust. Free at last, the Simurgh threw back its head and let out a triumphant, resonant call. It unfurled its massive wings, releasing a tidal wave of pure sapphire and gold light that washed over the entire cavern. The divine magic was so radiant, so absolute, that Zark and his dark realm dissolved into nothingness within seconds, leaving only clear, cool air behind. The Simurgh bowed its majestic head before Prince Neil, offering him its back. Neil climbed onto the magnificent creature, and with a powerful thrust of its wings, The Simurgh burst out of the subterranean depths and soared high into the open sky. As they flew over Eldoria, the morning sun rose over the horizon. The Simurgh circled the kingdom 3 times, showering the land with glowing magical feathers. Instantly, the dried fountains burst forth with crystal-clear water. The gray foliage bloomed into vibrant shades of emerald and sapphire, and the air filled once more with warm, sweet magic. The people filled the streets, cheering and weeping with joy as the Simurgh reclaimed its perch atop the high spire. The king and the entire court gathered in the courtyard as Prince Neil dismounted. The king stepped forward, placing a hand on his son's shoulder with immense pride and affection. Prince Neil smiled, looking out over the thriving kingdom and up toward the glowing Simurgh in the sky. He had not only saved his home from darkness, but he had also proven that true bravery, a selfless heart, and unwavering hope can overcome even the deepest shadows.